Every great drama has its subplots. Game 5 of the NBA Finals was no exception. The Jazz finally got a marquee performance from their star, Karl Malone. The mailman stole the show with 39 points. Meanwhile, Chicago's leading man, Michael Jordan, was having trouble hitting his marks. Even with Malone's big night, the director of Utah's cast, Jerry Sloan, made a script revision at intermission. He called on a seldom-used veteran from Wichita State, a stand-in, Antoine Carr. Carr had 5 field goal attempts in the second half. He made them all. Without his performance in a supporting role, the NBA Finals would be history. Instead, the Jazz are back in Utah, back on their home stage, after refusing to let the curtain come down in Chicago. Game 6, next.
This is the NBA on NBC. The 1998 NBA Finals. Tonight, it's Game 6. The Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz.
A while ago at the Delta Center, the cast of characters began arriving for Game 6. Karl Malone, fresh off the great 39-point performance on Friday night. Michael Jordan held just 9 of 26 from the floor in Game 5. Antoine Carr, unexpected hero, helping to bring it back to Salt Lake, where John Stockton has family support. Dennis Rodman doesn't prefer Utah, at least it's close to Vegas. Brian Russell, good job defensively on Michael in Game 5. Scottie Pippen, whose MVP chances for the final may have been hurt by his 2 of 16 shooting on Friday night. And we welcome you back to Salt Lake City for Game 6. Hello again, everybody. I'm Bob Costas. As we've mentioned earlier, no team has ever come back from a 3-1 deficit to win the NBA Finals. That's what the Jazz are facing. But for the sake of context, 6 teams have recovered after being down 3-1 to win earlier rounds in the NBA playoffs, including 3 teams that eventually won the championship. And should the Jazz win tonight and force a Game 7, then it would be worth noting that very few teams have ever won a 7th game on the road in the finals. That's what Chicago would be facing. If anything, Utah would have a slight edge, it would seem, in that scenario. Now, if Chicago wants to take some encouragement from recent history, they know that Game 6 has been very, very good to them. Of their 5 championships, only one, the first one, a 5-game victory over the Lakers, was not clinched in the 6th game. There was the comeback from 15 points down in the 4th quarter against Portland in '92. John Paxson shot at Phoenix a year later. The Sonics were finished off in Game 6 2 years ago in Chicago, and then it was Steve Kerr's shot that finally put Utah away last spring. So, if the Bulls want to bring the hammer down, Game 6 is the time to do it as we welcome in Isaiah Thomas and Doug Collins. There is a Game 6, Doug, because Utah was able to make some subtle adjustments in Game 5.
Well, Bob, they went away from their screen roll in the second half, and they went more to a post-up with Karl Malone. They put Antoine Carr in the game to give them another shooter so that when Pippen double-teamed, they could kick the ball out to the open man. They're going to get the good baseline cut. Pippen's going to get a double-team, and you're going to see Carr step right in, out of the double team, and hit the open jump shot. This caused problems for Chicago in the 4th quarter. Now what happens is you worry about the 4 shooters you have on the floor, so you stay at home. This gives Malone room to operate in the post and go one-on-one against Rodman. He does, wheels in and scores easily. Now in the 4th quarter, it was Antoine Carr and Karl Malone. They had 16 of the 24 points. They're going to need more of that today if they're going to force a Game 7. Bob?
Well, you know, Doug, we might ask the question, what took Jerry Sloan so long to go to Antoine Carr? Prior to Game 5, he'd scored only 4 points through the first 4 games.
Well, in talking to Jerry Sloan, one of the things he's worried about is Karl Malone guarding Tony Kukoc on the perimeter. And when he has Antoine Carr in the game, that has to occur. So even though he doesn't like that matchup, we're going to have to see a lot of it today if the Utah Jazz are going to win.
Well, Tony Kukoc was brilliant in Game 5. 11 of 13, 4 3-pointers, 30 points. But Jordan and Pippen had their problems.
Surprisingly, Bob, Jordan and Pippen were struggling all night long. You see Jordan here never really could find his rhythm. Every time he shot the ball, it was just a little long. Pippen, known for his moves against Hornacek in the low post, never really went to his patented jump hook. forced turnaround jump shots all night. But Kukoc was marvelous, hitting 11 of 13 from the field, and you see the big three right there over Karl Malone. Now, it took Kukoc 11 field goals. Kukoc made 11 field goals on 42, on 13 shots. Pippen and Jordan took 42 field goals to combine for 11 field goal attempts. I think for the big three, they're going to have to play well tonight, and all of them going to have to big effort here, Bob.
All right, and we'll get a big effort from Hannah Storm and the Showtime crew coming up following these messages. Game 6 just around the corner from
News for Bulls forward Scottie Pippen after a great defensive effort in Game 3, during which he drew numerous charges. Pippen has been experiencing stiffness in his back. Earlier, we spoke with Bulls trainer Chip Schaefer.
Scottie had been complaining about some low back pain since Game 3 on last Sunday when he took 5 charges in that game, and he was able to practice and play games all week long, but continuing to traumatize it like that, he wasn't able to make the kind of improvement that he might have hoped. And then yesterday he came in still sore from the game on Friday night, and the team doctors gave him the opportunity, if he wanted, to treat it in a very aggressive manner with an injection, and he opted to do that.
A look at Pippen at this morning's shoot-around in obvious discomfort because of the injury.
He's better this morning than he was yesterday. I put that question to him. He thought he was about 30% better than he was yesterday. Hopefully, with some more treatment today, he'll be, closer to 100% by game time tonight.
Phil Jackson told me this morning that if Scottie is not productive, he will limit Pippen's minutes tonight. Now, Utah also has a health concern. Backup point guard Howard Isley, who had no points and 5 turnovers in Game 5, told me he is suffering from vertigo stemming from an inner ear problem. He has been dizzy and disoriented, but he says that he will attempt to play tonight. Jerry Sloan told me, in retrospect, he doesn't think Isley should have played on Friday night. Now, let's move on to one of the Game 5 heroes, Utah's 13-year veteran, Antoine Carr. After totaling just 4 points in the first 4 games of these finals, Carr had 12 points on Friday night, shooting 5 of 6 from the field. For a guy who thought about retiring back in December, it was quite a contribution. There was one point in the season where you actually considered leaving, is that right?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Well, I had some personal things and some things I just thought were not right, and I felt like, well, I don't want to really go through a headache and a hassle to play basketball. I mean, it should be something I enjoy. And I was getting up every morning kind of upset, and I didn't feel good about it. And I thought about it, and then we had a little sit-down talk, me and coach and management, and kind of went over some things I wanted to talk about and clear up, and I'm ready to play another 4 years now.
There's always frustration sometimes with us here. We're not perfect. I probably upset him a little bit. I think it had something to do with it, and but we came back and sat down and talked about what's going on, and I think he changed his mind.
We just basically told me, hey, look, you're a part of this team. You're an integral part of this team. We need you to play well. We need you to step up and be the dog, do the things you do best, and just play hard. Give us that intensity. And that's kind of what I wanted to hear out of him, and that's what I try to do.
Antoine Carr can give him that presence. He can score.
And he can get hot and get in a rhythm. He's one of the great streak post-up players in the game.
Especially with a veteran team like this, people are always talking about that window of opportunity to win a championship and how it closes each year. Is that something you think about as a player?
No, I'm too old to think about that. No. Every now and then you do, especially after playing 13, 14 years in this league, you say, this is a chance for me to get a ring. I want this ring, I want it bad, and you try everything you can to try to get it. And especially with Karl Malone and John Stockton on your team, you kind of want to help those guys get the ring. You want to be one of the guys that say, hey, I was on that team with them, and I helped them get it.
There had been some talk of Antoine Carr starting tonight, but Jerry Sloan prefers Carr's energy off the bench. So Adam Keefe will once again start at center for the Jazz. Now, as for Chicago, both the city and the team were ready to celebrate a 6th championship on Friday night. This morning, I talked with Chicago coach Phil Jackson about the disappointment of losing Game 5.
Well, you know, when you don't meet people's expectations, it's really tough. And we've done this before. We've been through this before in our series of championships, but this group hasn't. Usually we've met those expectations at least at some level. But this was a whole town. This is a perfect scenario for Michael. It was really like it was all drummed up there. But it just, you know, those things are the big disappointments in life. And if you're attached to them, you can really be despondent.
Was it difficult to refocus the team? How did you do it?
You know, momentum is such an interesting force, and momentum goes from game to game. We like to say it goes from quarter to quarter. How you finish a quarter out dictates how you start the next one. Well, Utah is fortunate in that fifth game to finish out the half with a spectacular long pass to Anderson that cut the lead from 8-6, and it gave them some momentum going in the second half. Winning that game gives them momentum into this game, and now we have to seize that back, or else we're going to have a hard night.
Much more from a very reflective Phil Jackson coming up at halftime. Phil, the Bulls' defense has been steady, but not their offense. They're struggling, shooting only 42%.
And this championship is all about Michael Jordan's offensive attack. In games 4 and 5, the Bulls' offense was very stagnant. They were standing around, they were waiting, and they were watching. Tonight, it's all Michael Jordan. To the hoop, get in that post, and most importantly, get to the foul line. Unless that happens right from the beginning of the game, Peter, I think the Bulls' championship run is in serious jeopardy.
Bill, obviously Jordan is the go-to guy, but I think it'd be a huge mistake if he tried to bogart the offense. In the last 2 games, he shot under 40%. His jumper isn't there. The legs have no lift in them. Kukoc and Scottie Pippen have proved that they can be relied upon. Now is not the time to stop depending on these guys. You got to trust your teammates, Hannah.
That's right, Peter. They've won all their championships with the team concept in Chicago. John, what if Scottie Pippen can't be effective tonight?
Well, I think he is already effective. The fact that he showed his loyalty to the Chicago Bulls by taking that shot in his back proves he's not just want to play, but he does want to win.
Well, as the Utah Jazz learned very well last year, the Bulls are excellent at these Game 6s. Chicago's last 4 championships have all been decided in Game 6. We'll have the player introductions and the opening tip-off coming right up. The NBA Finals continue on NBC right after these messages.